and the masters of the universe. I am Adam, Prince of Eternia and defender of the secrets of Castle Grayskull. This is Cringer, my fearless friend. Fabulous secret powers were revealed to me the day I held aloft my magic sword and said, "By the power of Grayskull, Cringer became the mighty Battle Cat, and I became He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. Only 3 others share this secret. Our friends, the Sorceress, Man-at-Arms, and Orko. Together, we defend Castle Grayskull from the evil forces of Skeletor.
Hello, this is OptimusSolo, and welcome to the 35th chapter in Tales of Eternia. With me for this journey into the Masters of the Universe franchise is TFG1Mike. Hello.
Only 10 episodes left, yay!
This actually marks, because each podcast in this Powers of Grayskull series has a set number of episodes. He-Man being the longest of the 4 shows is the longest podcast. At 45 episodes. This would be the mark right here where we would be finishing with She-Ra. Would be episode 35. That would be where this is how long we'll have to go to get through She-Ra. But we have 10 episodes to go still for He-Man.
So I have an announcement to make.
Oh.
And you don't know about this because I forgot to tell you
It
before.
always makes me nervous.
So originally I had Steve set up, because the way I look at setting feeds up and setting iTunes up and getting it on iTunes and all that stuff is it's kind of a little hidden copyright. It's not like fully legal, but like, people see it on iTunes. It's like, okay, well, it's already there. I'm not going to copy it. Originally, Powers of Grayskull series was going to be 4 separate podcasts. Tales of Eternia, Myths of Etheria, Masters in Space, and Masters of Grayskull. We are still going to have 4 podcasts, but they're all going to be on the same Powers of Grayskull feed. So, you guys don't have to go anywhere. Steve is going to make new art that includes the original 4 arts that would have been on all 4 individual shows. So, technically, when we get to episode 46, that'll be episode 1 for She-Ra.
Oh, man.
So it's something you and I can talk about off air, but yeah, no, Steve said, hey, you guys have already built up a fan base with this one feed. There's kind of no sense in,
right,
having people switch over to a new feed.
Right.
So, but yeah.
Sounds good. All right. Well, in this episode of Tales of Eternia, we will be giving you our thoughts on episode 102, the greatest show on Eternia, episode 103, Not So Blind, and episode 104, The Secret of Grayskull. So we hope you're ready, because it's time to go back to Eternia.
Hurry, Adam, come on.
Orko, I've never seen you so excited.
It's not every day the circus comes to Eternia. Look at the poster. Wow! Tightrope walkers, jugglers, wild animals. Woo!
Wild animals? I get nervous around butterflies.
Careful, Orko.
Say, look at the clowns.
Whoa! Orko, are you all right?
I'm okay, just a little bit stuck up.
Orko.
Oops. Oh, sorry, sir, but I was so excited about the circus I didn't...
Yes. But remember your promise.
I know. I can only go to the circus if I clean up my room.
But the circus is arriving today. Orko, when are you going to have time to do it?
Right now.
We start today with episode 102, quote, The Greatest Show on Eternia, Written by Roby Gorin. Air date Wednesday, October 31st, 1984. Halloween episode. The plot: Skeletor is furious that Crackers the Clown is bringing his circus to the Royal Palace instead of Snake Mountain like he requested. So he resolves to sabotage the show and force the performers to amuse him alone. Ew. Bad guys, Beastman, Evelyn, and Skeletor are regular masters, and the PSA was all about Orko and Adam. Orko was talking about how he wanted to do everything, but he didn't really want to put the practice and the effort to learn everything. So it's all about that you have to spend enough time to learn the necessary skills to be good at something.
Well, okay. Let's get the PSA out of the way.
I like the PSA.
I like the PSA because it applies to a lot of stuff we do in life. It took me a year and a half listening to various podcasts before I started my own, and then it still took me another year and a half to get better and better and better. I've often said, and everyone else has said this, but I think it's better coming from me because I know how horrible it was. But TFG1 podcast is easily the worst podcast I've ever produced.
It's funny because I was so excellent from day one.
Right? Yeah. Sure you were. Right.
Anyway.
But I mean, this PSA kind of ties into, learning life lessons, and, you start something, you get better at it and better at it as you go along. You don't just know everything right away, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good lesson because a lot of people are, and they kind of talked about it, I think Man at Arms brought it up at one point about how Orko would start one thing and then give that up or lose interest in that and then start another thing and then start another thing. And I think a lot of kids do that. They'll join, Boy Scouts and quit that, and they'll join baseball and quit that, and then join, soccer and quit that.
Right.
Or not necessarily quit right away, but just, do it for a little bit, and they're not super successful, so they move on to the next thing or whatever. So I think that's kind of a good message for that too, just to, if you're really interested in something and you really want to, be good at it or achieve some type of success, it doesn't come quickly. That's the kind of flaw in a lot of people's thinking is they want everything, but they want it quickly. They want, fame or money or talent or skill just to be there. And so I think that's a good message for kids.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, as far as the plot goes, I mean, let's just get the white elephant in the room out of the way right away. We already had an episode called A Beastly Sideshow.
Well, A Beastly Sideshow, Greatest Show on Eternia. It's slightly different. And it's not the same circus either.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the same circus, but I mean, to have two circus episodes in the series seems weird. I could see it once where it's trying to make Eternia feel more like a regular just world and country that has, things that we can relate to, circuses or, sporting events or, whatever it might be to try to make it the world relatable. But it's still somewhat weird to have a circus in Eternia and then to have two. Makes me just feel like this guy didn't obviously see the first one. Now, I know the first one, well, they even do some of the same stuff where Beastman's trying to control stuff.
But this is the first time in a long time that we've even seen Beastman use his powers.
Yeah,
so
but I mean,
the
first one was more centered on Beastman controlling the animals in the circus, etc. This one has a little bit of that, not to the same extent. I think what gets me about the plot more so is not that they did a circus episode again. That's fine. They could have even had the same circus from the first one revisit. It could have been on that cycle to retour again, until a year later. That would have been fine. But my problem is more of the premise of Skeletor being upset because he requested the circus to perform at Snake Mountain for him alone. That just seems weird.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like what the evil villain would be worried about. Like, I want the circus to come perform at my evil lair just for me.
It just, again, I think it's like what you said. It's a case of the writer not knowing Skeletor's, MO and this guy wants to take over all of Eternia, yet for one episode he just wants to be a child and have the circus all to himself and I really, really don't want to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. And I know you're going to groan and you're going to scream at the top of your lungs and whatever else. But honestly, Skeletor in this episode, while I have never seen the show because we are all on social media, I know who this person is, and just everything about them is so wrong. Skeletor was Honey Boo Boo in this episode. I kid you not, he was.
And it's funny because I listened this episode on the DVD set, the only DVD set that I'll acknowledge exists. Has
wait a minute, wait, what?
The BCI set.
Oh, okay,
Not the rip-off set that came later. But on the BCI set, this episode has a commentary track as well. The commentary track is with a bunch of the animators and whatnot. But they do make a mention that they said Roby Gorin was kind of a comedian of sorts, and that he would do different improv and stand-up type stuff, or not necessarily like he was a stand-up comedian, but he would take people to that, or he was into that, or whatever, in some way, shape, or form. And they said a lot of times when he was writing for any of these types of shows or whatever, he would be the one that would try to bring as much humor in as possible, do tongue-in-cheek type stuff. So, I guess it makes a little more sense for what he's doing here, and maybe is making a little bit of a joke out of Skeletor in some way, shape, or form. But
yeah, it still doesn't feel right.
Yeah, it just feels weird that a evil villain would be demanding the circus play. I could see the evil villain being like, no circus in Eternia, and nobody can have fun. I want to be Debbie Downer type thing. But to be like, I want the circus to perform at Snake Mountain, that's just weird.
Yeah. It is.
Another fun fact that I got in the commentary was they talked about how a lot of times their different billboards or posters that are seen in the series won't have any type of words or writing on it. Mostly just images and pictures. They said they did that so that the show, when it's aired in other countries, you wouldn't have to do anything with that. It would just be the images and the pictures, and there wouldn't be any writing or lettering or words that you had to worry about trying to fix.
Right.
So that kind of made sense. But I don't know. I know it's only been done once before, and a lot of themes in He-Man have been done 3, 4, 5 times. So I guess I can't fault it too much, but it still has been done before, and I didn't necessarily need to see another circus episode.
See, for me, I thought this plot was kind of cool. It gave Skeletor a lot of funny lines, and it is only second to A Beastly Sideshow for me as far as these circus episodes go. Because I do think A Beastly Sideshow was a little bit more funny because of Cringer and all the stuff that happened with him in that episode. But no, I enjoyed this one. I thought the plot was kind of cool. Yeah, sure, there is the problem with Skeletor just being a little brat. But other than that, I thought it was pretty damn good.
It's a rare case in the Powers of Grayskull when we have you like an episode more than myself.
Yeah.
We'll see exactly how this plays out here as we get to Castle Grayskull to see what good things you liked about this episode.
Oh man, there's so many of them.
Getting ready to land on the fairgrounds.
Oh, boy.
Uh-oh, looks like the rocket's in trouble.
It's out of control.
It's gonna crash into Mount Eternia. Cringer, it's time for He-Man and Battle Cat to save the day.
But we saved the day yesterday and the day before that. Every day we save the day. Gee whiz.
By the power of Grayskull!
Alright, time for the first time today for our Castle Grayskull moments. And I will just start with Mike, since he apparently has a lot of good things to say about this episode. So let's see what they are and see if I just missed something.
Yeah. Strangest rocket ever. He-Man literally pulled on its nose. the circus rocket, like, I get it. It's Eternia. It's make-believe. Don't get me wrong. But the fact that he pulled on its nose and it basically, avoided Mount Eternia, whatever, when I see a rocket, I don't think of it being bendy and flexible and made of silly putty. Even if it is a rocket for the circus. Skeletor is just hilarious throughout this whole episode. I think he even says a line, which I will have to play for you later. I can't get anything get anything done right unless I do it myself, which is exactly how I feel a lot of the time. So I guess I have Skeletor inside me somewhere.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, right. Did you notice the shadowy transformation?
Yes, a little bit.
I thought that was interesting. That, Adam runs off, and instead of actually just using a stock footage of Adam standing there pulling the sword, that they basically just use his shadow. He pulls the sword, and then obviously, the transformation is the transformation. But I thought that was really, really cool that they did that. He-Man gave Skeletor the bounce, just like Ram Man bounces. I thought that was hilarious. Echo Valley is an interesting yet dangerous place. I enjoyed that scene, but I'm not sure if I'd ever want to visit there. Because you always see in anything in media, you always see these people, hello, just standing out over canyons and stuff. And I think a place called Echo Valley would be kind of fun yet dangerous to live in. I really enjoyed overall. I mean, there's not too much for me personally that I disliked or found out of place. Like made me actually. I only have one Snake Mountain moment. And once again, Skeletor is just hilarious. And Orko learns another lesson that we should all learn. What about you?
Just a couple of things. I thought it was funny when Orko was in the bucket of paste and the O flag came out.
That'll be in the post.
That was funny.
I grabbed that one.
I like that they mentioned Mount Eternia again, so that it wasn't just a one-time mention. Same writer that mentioned it the first time, but at least he remembered that, I guess. And I did like how the PSA was intermixed into the episode, how they even spent some time in the actual episode before they got to the PSA to talk about taking time to be in a profession or to do this, that, and the other. So I like that was interwoven, but that was about it for me.
Really?
Sorry.
Oh boy, here we go.
All right, let's make our way to Snake Mountain.
No cooperation! I get no cooperation from anyone! I have to do all the work around here. Where's Beastman? Where's Evil Lynn?
What's bugging you, bonehead?
Have you received word yet from the circus?
You mean about your request for them to perform here at Snake Mountain?
Yes. When will they arrive?
They won't. They turned you down.
They what?
Yes, the royal family arranged a week of free performances for the enjoyment of the people of their kingdom.
Enjoyment? I don't want anyone to have any enjoyment except for me. Take the rest of the day off. You and Beastman, go to the circus.
That's awfully nice of you.
Nice? Nothing. I'm sending you to make sure the circus never opens.
All right, Snake Mountain, here we are. I honestly, even though it makes it sound like I don't like this episode at all, I don't have that much to say at Snake Mountain other than what I've already said. I was not thrilled about another circus episode, and I don't get the motivation behind Skeletor wanting the circus to perform at Snake Mountain. I was going to put Crackers the Clown in here, but he wasn't that bad.
No, he wasn't annoying. It makes me feel, I know this wasn't the case, but as soon as I heard Crackers, I'm like, wait. What's Mickey Mouse doing in a He-Man show? Because it sounded like whoever was doing the voice of Crackers was doing a Mickey Mouse impersonation.
Yeah, it was just a little bit weird, but I didn't put him in my Snake Mountain moments, but he was kind of on the fence. Other than that, it wasn't like there was a bunch of bad moments. Just overall, I didn't necessarily enjoy the episodes a lot. What about you?
I only had one here. Not too sure how Skeletor taking over the circus or demanding the circus would, be goal-oriented for him taking over Eternia. I get he wants to be entertained, but this just feels like it's beneath him. And also, it kind of feels like, you will entertain me, damn it. It feels like somebody at, 3 a.m. who is bored. Twitter, Facebook, entertain me or else. It feels like one of those weird Twitter, Facebook messages that people post when they're really bored at 4 a.m. Other than that, I really liked it. I thought it was great.
All right. Well, let's see how differently we rank this episode.
Oh, God. It's like parting the Red Sea all over again.
Pretty much.
Myrtle, what's wrong? What is that?
I'm sending that clown to Echo Valley, while I take over his circus for my own amusement.
But our circus is for families and children. It's not for you.
It is now, and it's time to prepare for the Skeletor Circus.
What are we going to do?
Echo Valley is a dangerous place, Orko. This is a job for He-Man.
All right, it's time for awards and rankings for the greatest, quote unquote, show on Eternia.
Come on now.
We'll start with you, since I believe you're going to be a little more positive than me for once. So what do you... Well, first, what hardware do you give out? Do you have any power swords or Haddock staffs in this episode?
Skeletor and Orko both get a power sword. They were, the Orko flag, that is hilarious. It's Skeletor. When they give him a chance to be funny and evil all at the same time, even though he does kind of act like a little 2-year-old in this episode, I still thought it was absolutely hilarious. So they both get a power sword.
All right.
As far as the rating goes, I gotta give it 4 Orkos. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. I thought it was great.
All right. I have no hardware to give out, although I do agree that sometimes Skeletor is actually the funniest character in the whole series, even better than Cringer and Orko at times. I will disagree with your 4, and I will go ahead and slap a 1 on this one.
What?
A 1 Battle Cat for me.
Oh
I apologize. I just did not enjoy this episode. Maybe I'm not as much of a circus person as I should be. Or maybe I'm blind.
Uh-huh.
All right,
Yeah.
Let's make our way to episode 103. Not So Blind, coming up next.
Come! Touch the finest silks in Eternia! Silk handkerchiefs, scarves, all the colors of the rainbow! Ah, noble prince, you honor me with your presence. How can I serve you?
Well, I'm looking for a gift for my mother.
Is today the Queen's birthday?
No, it's no special occasion. I just wanted to get something because I love her.
Oh, how thoughtful. Isn't this scarf beautiful, It's hand-embroidered with the finest and rarest silks in the land.
Yes, it's very nice, but,
Shh, now just quiet down and I'll finish the story. Now, where was I? Oh, yes. He-Man was surrounded by rock monsters. Fortunately, the monsters were just big rocks, so He-Man had no fear about hurting them.
Did he smash him?
Well, yes, he did, actually. He-Man pulled back his mighty fist and wham! The rock monster was a pile of pebbles. And then, after taking care of the last monster, He-Man took his friends to safety. Oh, Your Highness, how good to see you again.
oh, please don't get up. I was just enjoying your story. How are you, my old friend?
Children, you have asked me where I get my stories? Meet He-Man's closest friend, Prince Adam.
Wow, the prince! Do you live in the palace?
Why, yes, I live in the palace.
Does He-Man live there too?
Well, sometimes. Actually, he just seems to turn up when he's needed.
I want to know something. How come He-Man doesn't just go to Snake Mountain and smash Skeletor into little bones?
Children, what kind of talk is that?
He-Man never tries to hurt any living thing, evil or not.
But I don't understand. When I do something bad, I get punished. Why doesn't Skeletor? Yeah, how come he gets away with everything?
He will be punished for his evil deeds. Skeletor is not an ordinary criminal. You see, when someone commits a crime, he's tried, and if found guilty, well, he's punished.
Skeletor hasn't been punished. I told you, if you were powerful enough, you could get away with anything.
Well, not really. The punishment is just delayed, that's all. You see, the more evil Skeletor does, the worse his punishment will be. And each day we come closer to taking care of Skeletor once and for all.
I still think He-Man should beat him up.
Well, now that'll be enough of that, young man.
All right, next up today is episode 103, Not So Blind, written by Robert Lamb, air date Thursday, November 1st, 1984. He-Man and Ram-Man befriend a blind boy and take him on an adventure, which takes a dangerous turn when the heroes are themselves blinded. So we have Prince Adam / He-Man, Man-at-Arms, and Ram-Man. That's all you get for this episode, whether it be evil warriors or masters. And the PSA is basically talking about disabilities, specifically, obviously, the blind factor and how they're still people, and they're not helpless. They still have feelings. They can still do stuff. They still want to do stuff. They want to be included, etc. Obviously, the PSA is good. It's a good message for kids to hear. And the plot is not, in my opinion, terrible. I think it was a great idea to include an episode that had a blind individual. So that I give them props for. I think that was very cool. Probably one of the first times. I mean, I'm not an expert on all cartoons that came before this, but I'm guessing it's, one of the earlier examples of a blind kid in a cartoon.
Of a blind kid, yes, but it's not the first episode overall for a child with disabilities in cartoons. I mean, we can't forget about Chip Chase, after all. He is in a wheelchair.
Well, this came before that, though.
No, it didn't.
When was Chip Chase first appeared?
Sometime in '84. It premiered in September 17th for More Than Meets the Eye. Chip was in like the 5th or 6th or 7th episode.
Yeah.
He was in the very first Dinobot episodes, so...
These were probably filmed way before that. And I think we did get blind adult males before in other cartoons, kind of like the old blind guy type stuff, but to have a blind child in a cartoon, this has got to be one of the first references or inclusions like that. So I think that's cool. I think the plot's interesting. I also kind of like the idea that it's He-Man and Ram-Man as the only two, and they're kind of just on the adventure, with the kid. And I also like the plot element that they too have to deal with the same kind of situation where they are temporarily blinded by the elements in the story. I thought that was kind of cool.
Crystal.
Yeah. So it gave kind of them a first-hand experience and got to try to even more magnify what it would be like to be blind. So I don't have a problem with the plot on this one at all.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
Me either. I don't have a problem with the plot. It actually, we'll get to it when I talk about my Castle Grayskull moments, but this episode actually kind of hits home for me a little bit. So there's that. I like... there are a few questions... I understand it's part of the story, but the whole time they were on the bridge on the way back, it's like, I'm just waiting for something I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop, because I know it will. So there's that. But yeah, no, and the PSA was good, very well executed, and, very, very interesting. So I think we ought to get to Grayskull.
Really? No He-Man?
Yes, probably better than anyone.
I've always wanted to meet him.
This is Luce. He was born blind.
Well, Luce, how would you like to go on an adventure with He-Man?
Would I? Wow! I have to ask my parents first.
All right, where do you live?
I can take you there.
But I thought...
I'm blind, but that doesn't mean I'm helpless.
Very well, Luce. Lead me to your home.
All right, we're at Castle Grayskull for episode 103, Not So Blind. I'll have a couple things for you here. Obviously, like I said, I like having a blind kid involved. I also wanted, maybe the highlights of the episode for me was at the beginning, when all the different kids were asking the storyteller questions. I loved some of the questions they were asking about Skeletor and He-Man, about why Skeletor keeps getting away with everything, why he doesn't get punished, why doesn't He-Man, take care of him once and for all type stuff. So I thought the kids' questions were excellent. I thought that was a cool way of dealing with questions that kids probably had in real life about this series. as a kid, you're always like, why don't they just put him in jail, or why don't they just kill the bad guy or do away with him or whatever? So I thought that was cool that they actually brought that in and had He-Man and the storyteller responding to those questions.
Absolutely.
So that was probably my favorite part of the episode. What things did you like about this episode?
Well, I like how it opens. I think it's an interesting way to tell kids about He-Man, plus the lesson that Adam tells the kids is great, like you already said. This one has no evil warriors, so I didn't quite mind it that it was something that it was, part of where they were going that actually is the quote-unquote villain of the episode. As someone who was born with disabilities, damn drunk doctor, I can relate to Luce when he says even though he's blind, he isn't helpless. I was born with a mild case of cerebral palsy, and I was born with optic atrophy with nystagmatism in my eyes. So without glasses, I have 2200 vision in both eyes. I have 2200 in my right eye and 2400 in my left eye. With glasses, I have 2060 vision in both, and 2100 in my left eye. And how my eyes are is my right eye is my dominant eye, so it's my eye where I could be looking at you in the face and whatever else, whereas my left eye is my peripheral vision. Like, I have absolutely almost zero center vision with my left eye. It's all, on the left side of my face as far as that goes, as far as being able to see out of my left eye. So as a kid with disabilities and growing up, with the cerebral palsy and having kids make fun of me and everything else, or having kids assume that I'm helpless because of, my right hand and right foot turning inwards and are smaller than my left hand and left foot. I can really see where Luce is coming from, being a blind kid. Hell, I even attended, a 8-week blind training session kind of interim at the Kentucky School for the Blind at the time. So this episode, like I said earlier in the plot, kind of does hit home for me because, I'm, as far as my sight goes, like, I can see everything. I can make everything out, but, like, I'm looking out my window and I can see a house at the end of my street. And there's a stop sign down there at the end of my street. I can see the stop sign. I know it's a stop sign. I can see the color, but I can't actually see the letters STOP on the stop sign.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, I thought this one was really, really good. Overall enjoyed it. Luce might be the only kid in the entire series that is not annoying.
I can see that.
So that's what I got.
Okay. Well, I think there are a bunch of good things about the episode, but there are always a few negative things as well. So let's make our way to Snake Mountain.
Is this the Crystal Cave?
No, just a short tunnel. It's the only way to the Crystal Cave Trail.
Watch your step. Ram Man!
Say, where do I get one of those sticks?
Don't worry, I'll watch out for you.
Come on, we're falling behind.
Let's take a rest here. Luce, what do you do to find your way?
Sounds, smells. My mother taught me to use my other senses to notice things around me.
Gee, that sounds hard to do.
Not really. Just takes practice.
Ready to go on? The caves are nearby.
You bet. Let's go.
All right, as far as Snake Mountain moments, I really don't have a lot of huge things to point out about this episode. The kid voices still annoy me. They didn't right at the beginning, but the more I had to listen to Luce, the more the voice kind of got to me. So, yeah, I don't like kid voices in this series, but other than that, there wasn't a whole bunch of nitpicks, except for, in general, that I felt like the action in this was somewhat boring. I didn't think that there was a lot of entertainment value to this, and I know it's just Ram Man and He-Man and just kind of some natural, disasters or traps or things like that. So I don't know if that kind of played into it, but I was a little bored overall with the episode.
For me, what the hell kind of name is Luce? Like, I mean, that's like naming your kid North. It just, what the hell kind of name is that? Come on, Luce, get down with your bad self. It just doesn't work. So they all turn blind. Now, I know this is part of the plot. I know this is, to teach He-Man and Ram-Man a lesson of how Luce lives his life or something. And then all of a sudden, by the end of the episode, it's just magically cleared up. Like, it would have been nice if they carried this over into the next episode. Like, it's been 6 weeks. We finally cured your blindness.
Yeah, it basically served two purposes from what I can tell. Number one, it made it accentuate the strengths that a blind person has. Right. And what the kind of things that you don't necessarily know about until they have to, kind of show their heightened ability and awareness of their other senses, this, that, and the other. So it kind of accentuated that. It's also, not trying to be mean with saying this, but it's the only way that they could have turned the kid or given the kid an opportunity to be the hero in this episode.
At the end, yeah.
Because if He-Man and Ram-Man can still see, they're going to overshadow anything that the kid can do, and the kid's not going to be as important. So by making them blind, then it turns the kid into the hero. Yeah,
that's true. And I do kind of like that. I will say I've seen plots like this before. I don't necessarily remember seeing this episode as a child, but since then, the biggest one I can remember is Blind as a Bat from Batman the Animated Series, where Bruce Wayne goes blind somehow, and then by the end of the episode his vision returns. But as Batman, he has to figure out how to use his other senses because he has gone blind. And it was a really cool episode. This was a good episode. I enjoyed it, but they're just little nitpicks for me.
All right, well, let's see how we actually grade this episode out and see if we like it better or worse than the last one.
The crystal caves are on the other side of this gorge. Now, Luce, the bridge is rather narrow. Maybe I should carry you across.
Are you going to carry Ram-Man across the bridge?
No, I think he can take care of himself.
Well, so can I. I'm not helpless.
Luce, I didn't mean to.
You didn't hurt my feelings. I just want you to treat me like anybody else.
I understand. But Adam promised your mother I would bring you home safely. You may cross the bridge, but keep your hands on the rope railing. You too, Rami.
All right, as far as awards and rankings with episode 103, Not So Blind, I do have one piece of hardware to give out, and that would be a power sword to He-Man. I liked how he interacted with Luce. I liked how he treated the kid. It was cool seeing He-Man blind and still trying to function and being aware of the strength that he had with having Luce there and kind of going through that. So I liked He-Man in this episode, so I will give him a power sword.
For me, wasn't anything that really I agree with you as far as He-Man goes, but there still wasn't really anybody that did something so mind blowing.
Right.
I have to give something out.
So you started last episode here with a 4 as the greatest show on Eternia. Where do you go for Not So Blind?
About the same, 4. I enjoyed both of the episodes immensely as they progressed. But I think they're both 4 material, not really anything less or more.
Okay, that's fair enough. I gave last episode a 1. I will increase it ever so slightly. I think it was a great idea. I think it's a great concept. I think the action was boring. I think the execution could have been better to make it even more impactful. But because it was such a great idea and I appreciate what they did, I will give this one a 3. So I will give this one a 3 out of 5. You will give it a 4. Who would have thought that you have turned into Mr. Positivity and I have taken on the role of grumpy old man? We'll see how we end this episode and see what we think of The Secret of Grayskull next.
Magic! I can rub it like this!
Greetings, little master.
Oh, wow! It worked!
Your wish is my command.
Oh, boy, just like in my storybook. No fooling. I mean, can I wish for anything?
Oh, you wish. And then we'll see what happens. What'll it be? The usual? Power? Riches?
Oh, no, Mr. Genie. Nothing like that. I just want my friends to like me. That's what I wish for.
Impossible. Your friends only keep you around because it amuses them to have a pet.
That's not true, is it?
Suit yourself. But be honest. Wouldn't everyone be much better off if you had never come to Eternia?
Well, sometimes they make me feel like I'm not really wanted.
Take charge. Do something about it.
Like what?
Don't tell me you've already forgotten about the Dimension Portal.
The Dimension Portal?
Now you're talking. Step right up, little master. It's a pleasure to serve someone smart enough to know his friends don't really want him here.
Oh, I know Man-at-Arms would be glad to see me gone. Boy, do I make his life miserable.
So here's your big chance. Step right in, and we'll have you home in a jiffy. Home to where you're loved and wanted.
I guess home is where I belong. Well, goodbye, everybody. I sure had a real nice time. Sorry I messed things up.
Get back here, you!
All right, we end today with episode 104, The Secret of Grayskull, written by John Curtin, air date Friday, November 2nd, 1984. It's how we ended our week back in 1984 here. Plot was Oracle feels unwanted and leaves. We've seen that before. Skeletor captures him and forces him to explain how to get into Castle Grayskull, and then we have a showdown between Skeletor and the Sorceress as she tries to protect the secrets of Castle Grayskull. We have Clawful, Cobra Khan, Trapjaw joining Skeletor in this one, and we have our regular masters, including the King, the Queen, and obviously the Sorceress. The PSA was talking about that being punished or being scolded or whatever does not necessarily mean that someone doesn't care about you, that they would still care about you, and that's why they're disciplining you, basically.
Yeah.
So obviously a good moral. It's a good message, not something we haven't seen before.
Right.
Now, I guess it's kind of twofold. The main plot in here is Skeletor trying to get into Castle Grayskull and trying to learn the secrets of Castle Grayskull, etc. And then the subplot would be how he gets there and the whole Orko feeling not wanted, not loved, and somewhat playing into the fact where he gets captured by Skeletor and becomes a means to get into Castle Grayskull. So what do you think about the plot?
I like the plot. I think it's interesting. I think I would have liked, not that I would like anything more or less, but I would have liked to have seen where Orko would have ended up if he had gone. Like, did Skeletor send him back to Trala? Did Skeletor send him to Despondos? Where would have Skeletor sent him if the Sorceress hadn't, as Zor, saved Orko at the last split second? I like this one. I think it's a really great episode. We all deal with this kind of issue with, self-doubt and, just being very introverted and, worrying about what other people think.
I get that. But I think I would have enjoyed the episode even more had the Orko angle not been involved. If it was more so just Orko doing his thing and he just gets captured by Skeletor for some other reason besides him feeling bad for himself and being upset because he got yelled at, if he would have just, since we've seen that before, if he would have just been out doing something or whatever and somehow Skeletor captured him and then used him and then it became more about just Skeletor and the Secret of Grayskull, I would have liked that episode a little bit more. It took it away a little bit for me because of the whole, how they yelled at me again, because he technically should have already learned this lesson when we had this the first or second time we've seen this. So that he's feeling sorry for himself again after already learning those lessons, to me, just doesn't quite jive.
I can agree with that, but I still really, really enjoyed this one because...
I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it. I'm just saying that would have been even better if we had a different angle besides him feeling bad for himself. I'm not saying that's not a good message, but we've already heard
what other angle can Skeletor exploit?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, just Orko's out, just whatever, out in the jungle or out whatever, searching for something. Like, maybe it was more of a, something didn't work that Man-at-Arms was doing and he needed something. So Orko was just out searching for that to try to help out and try to just, make up for previous times where he's always fumbled things around, so he's out looking for a secret element or whatever, and then Skeletor just captures him.
Right, but that wouldn't work with how the rest of the episode plays out, because she has to show Orko how much his friends care about him.
Well, yeah, I would have eliminated that part.
It would have eliminated all of that storyline.
Yeah,
so,
I'm fine with that.
I mean, I understand you don't like the setup of Orko being the B plot, or technically Orko is the A plot.
I don't mind him being the plot. I just mind him the motivation behind his character being that he feels like they don't appreciate him. That's the only aspect I would take out. And I think you could, even though I enjoyed the flashbacks and Sorceress showing him things, I don't think that was a bad part of the episode. If we go with my plot, we can easily take that stuff out and build up more of the tension of Skeletor trying different ways to get into Castle Grayskull, maybe trying more than one riddle, whatever it might be, and make it a little bit more tension as far as him getting in there, or there could have been a little bit more of him trying to get more out of the Sorceress once she had kind of sacrificed herself and let herself get handcuffed. We could have had a little bit more of him, like the stalling tactics. I wish we would have seen a little bit more of the stalling tactics. Because He-Man says just stall him until I get there, but we really don't get to see any of that.
Yeah,
so
true. Well, it is only a 22-minute show.
So that's how I would have done it a little bit different. Not to say I didn't like the episode, so let me prove that as we get to Castle Grayskull, and I can talk about my favorite moments of the episode.
Not another step, Cringer. Stick around.
But the spiders bug me.
By the power of Grayskull!
Wish I could talk the Queen into getting Adam a new pet.
All right, to prove that I don't hate this episode. First, I thought there was some clever dialogue at the beginning with Skeletor. He has a whole little rant there where one of his lines is, "I'm not one day closer than the day I started."
Yeah.
Seeing that this is episode 104, I think that was fitting to say that he basically has gained nothing over the course of these 100 episodes. We saw what might have been, quite possibly, the best Zor moment of the entire series.
Absolutely.
Where she comes in at the last second and saves Orko. That might be the best we've seen from her. So I thought that was good. I thought it was super funny. Again, this is just another example of how sometimes Skeletor can be the funniest character on this series. When Orko reveals about the riddles, when he's under that kind of hypnotic trance, Skeletor, "Oh, I'm horrible at riddles." And he's like looking at his even less intelligent minions. Who's good at riddles? The only thing that would have made that funnier is if they would have like had certain evil warriors try it. Like, "Oh, go get, Evil in," and then she would fail, and "Oh, go get whatever." But yeah, he's looking for his evil warriors and who's good at riddles. And I do like the idea that we're involving riddles in the show. I don't know if I necessarily like that as being the key to open the drawbridge, but I do like riddles being involved in the cartoon. And I do like the idea of a secret that only certain people know as far as how to get into Grayskull.
Right.
I don't necessarily know why Orko would know it.
Well, Orko is one of the three.
Yeah, but I don't think necessarily anybody should know that. Sorceress and then He-Man, because he can just open it with a sword.
Well, He-Man doesn't... Yeah, I mean, He-Man doesn't need the secret riddle,
so I don't think we need necessarily another way to get in. That's bad security system.
Well,
and then
I don't think ADT was around in the Eternian days.
I guess not. And then once they're all inside Grayskull towards the end, and the Sorceress frees herself and is about to, wreak havoc, I guess. Trapjaw and the rest are all wanting to run, and Skeletor basically is like, "No, I'm not running, blah, 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 blah." I thought that was great because even Skeletor knows how weak the Sorceress really is. As far as how...
But she said...
No, I know. I'm just saying about how we've seen in the series prior to this, how she always fails and how it gets overpowered. So I like that Skeletor was like, "No, I'll take my chances. I've seen this girl and work before." So I liked that moment. What about you?
Poor Cringer. Wish he could talk the Queen into letting Adam get a new pet. I love that. Absolutely love that. So apparently we now have 1,000,000,001 uses for the Power Sword. It can now boil water. Interesting. Skeletor, like, I wasn't, I thought Skeletor was just going to create a spell, you know what I mean? And have some mystical thing show up as the I didn't realize, like, that was kind of shocking to me, see Skeletor pull off the genie torso. It was like, whoa, what? He was there the whole, I mean, I knew it was his voice, obviously, but it just felt like it could have been a completely different character than Skeletor basically cosplaying as the genie.
Yeah, I'd actually already captured an image of the genie just in case I needed to add him as another character, but I'm pretty sure that's Skeletor, but just in case.
Yeah, it's Skeletor. Skeletor almost had Orko believing his lies, and then Zor saves the day, yay! I always laugh when the evil warriors, He-Man's cat, run!
Yeah, that was funny.
All his Battle Cat has to do is just a slight roar or just put his paw forward and zoom, they're off. And as Skeletor, poor Skeletor, he hates the place he wants to conquer. If you hate the place I mean, I know it's because of, what Sorceress was doing to him, but if you hate the place you want to conquer, then why the hell do you want to conquer it?
Yeah.
Absolutely hilarious. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of funny moments in this episode.
Yep.
All right, well, let's see if there was any negative moments to speak of.
Rat! That fire shuttle is destroying all my creations. I want Eternia. All of it. The entire universe. And I'm not one step closer than the day I started.
What? Nobody likes me. I just get in everybody's way.
Fascinating. That little insect Orko's feeling sorry for himself.
All right, not to say the episode is perfect. There's always some Snake Mountain moments, excuse me. First off, fireworks that turn into spiders that turn into fire. That was a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, a little bit.
So I could see maybe one thing turning into one thing, but when it's one thing that turns into one thing that turns into another thing, and then He-Man making it rain.
Well, technically, Skeletor. Who came up with the idea of a triple changer first? Because technically, that's what Skeletor's spider fireworks were triple changers.
Right. So, but I just He-Man, whenever he gets involved in science, kind of, I'm gonna make my sword hot and put it in water and make steam, and then shoot a lightning bolt into it to make rain. I don't know about that. As I said, I didn't necessarily super care for Orko feeling sorry for himself again. It doesn't make as much sense to me. I question that a riddle is all it takes to get into Castle Grayskull. Could be a better system there. Whatchamacallit refers to Trapjaw as Trappy. Thought we were done with that, especially since Trappy and Trapjaw are the same amount of syllables. A slight problem maybe with this episode moving forward is, don't they know about the fact that they just have to answer a riddle now?
Yeah.
So can't they just keep trying to get in over and over and over again? And at the end, the sources has Trapjaw, Clawful, Cobra Khan, and Skeletor are all imprisoned, basically. Mm-hmm. Why not keep them that way? Mm-hmm. Why not keep them in their little jail? That's problem solved. Why do we return them to make sure that they can keep causing havoc? It goes back to the kids asking at the beginning, but then they pose a question to them at the end. You had them all trapped. What's the deal? So what about you? Anything that you didn't like?
At first, this episode was moving way too goddamn slow. It took, I don't know how many minutes from the start of the episode, not even from the start, from the point where after the opening credits and after the opening director credits and stuff, it took what seemed like to be 10 minutes out of the 22 to get to even seeing. We hear, oh, well, this must be Skeletor's doing, this must be this, and then it takes too damn long to get to it. And we finally see him, and it's like, oh, okay. It just, in the beginning, this episode really felt like it was dragging along.
And it didn't get that as much, but okay. What else you got?
That's it.
That's it. All right, then it sounds like you are going to be a 3 for 3 with episodes you like today. Let's see if that's true as we get to our last awards and rankings for the day.
Skeletor? What's that?
Stop, Skeletor. I don't know how you managed to open the jaw breach, but you still can't get into Grayskull without facing me.
It's the sorceress. We better get out of here.
Stand your ground, you crab-faced coward! She can't do anything to us!
All right, it's time for awards and rankings for episode 104, The Secret of Grayskull. I will start with my hardware, and I will give a power sword to the sorceress. Because she defended Castle Grayskull, she saved Orko, she finally was powerful enough to actually do something instead of just be weak. So what do you think?
No, I agree with that, but I am going to break I remember the first time I gave a power sword to one of the writers, and you just kind of broke your brain. I'm going to break your brain again. I'm going to give a power sword to the castle itself.
To the castle.
Okay, sure, yes, the sorceress.
Which spoke in this episode.
Yep. Sure, the sorceress, did her magic and had all this stuff happen, but actually seeing the castle pieces move and things come out of the walls and all that kind of, just seeing the castle in action, and as you said, it did speak, so really, really dug that. I'm also going to give a power sword to Skeletor because he was just hilarious this entire episode.
All right, so the castle and Skeletor. As far as ratings, sir, you've been at 4 both previous episodes, and what are you ending today at?
There are a few nitpicks, but overall, this is the best episode of the day for me. I'm going to give it 5 Orcos.
5?
Yeah, I can kind of overlook the nitpick, and I know I understand you have an issue with it, but I can kind of overlook the nitpick that the power sword makes boiling water, because we've seen, nitpicks like this throughout the entire series, and it shouldn't even surprise us at this point with what kind of weird science-y bullshit they come up with.
Yeah. Well, I started today with a 1 for The Greatest Show on Eternia, went to a 3 for Not So Blind with The Secret of Grayskull. I do feel like it was the best episode of the day, so I agree with you at that point. But with the with the Oracle feeling sorry for himself again, with the He-Man playing Mother Nature, I do have to knock it down a little bit, so I will not give it a 5, but I will give it a 4 Battle Cats out of 5. So I will give it a 4, but I have no problem with you giving it a 5. I feel like you have something to say.
No, I'm fine.
You outscored all 3 episodes, put them all higher than me, which is weird.
This might be a record, ladies and gentlemen, and honestly, I think it was episode either 32 or 33 or 34. I said, we've got a lot of episodes coming up that I really, really enjoy.
I hope, because I like this positive vibe that we're getting from you, and I don't mind being the bad guy, so that's fine. So let's take a break and get real quick thoughts of our season 2 and how it's going.
I thought this would be a lot easier. Oops.
Well, looks like you need some more practice, Orko.
I thought being a juggler in a circus would be easy.
If you really want to be a juggler, or anything else in life, you have to be willing to work at it. So when you find something that you really want to do, then do yourself a favor. Work at it. Really work at it. Spend enough time learning the necessary skills. And I promise you, you'll be surprised at how good you can really be. See you next time.
It's Showtime Synergy, the latest review podcast from the Geekcast Radio Network, is coming. So join TFG1Mike, Nicole Hailstorm, and myself, Lady Wreck, as we will be reviewing all 65 episodes of Gem and the Holograms in a 25-episode-long podcast. You can find Showtime Synergy on iTunes and GeekCastRadio.com. We are the truly outrageous podcast that you want to be listening to.
So, children, what did you learn from this story?
Even though Luce is blind, he's just like the rest of us. Yeah, and because he learned to use his other senses, he helped He-Man.
That's right. Just because a person is blind or handicapped, that doesn't mean that they're helpless.
Yeah, they have feelings and want to do stuff like we do, too.
And who knows, you might learn as much from them as they do from you.
Hello, geeks. Want a podcast that covers a vast array of topics with no rhyme or reason? Then check out Altered Geek Unlimited, where the topics fly more or less off the cuff. We cover media news, TV, our favorite geek products, and of course, your feedback. So get altered, get geeky with the Altered Geeks every Friday on the Geekcast Radio Network.
Sometimes when your parents punish you, you may think they don't love you. Well, that isn't true. They don't punish to be mean, but to teach you. They hope you'll remember the punishment and not do wrong in the future. If I didn't love Orko, I wouldn't care what he did.
I'm glad Man-at-Arms cares enough to correct me when I do wrong. How else am I going to learn? I know he loves me, even if he doesn't say it all the time.
Yeah, well, it's time to go.
Bye!
All right, we just finished 102, 103, and 104, which were our 4th, 5th, and 6th episodes of the second half of Season 2. I'd like to point out, after what seemed like a very negative Nancy at the halfway point, you have now ranked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of your last 7 episodes, a 4 or higher. 6 out of the last 7 episodes, so it seems like the second half of Season 2 is to your liking, sir.
So far.
So you like where everything's going?
So far, there's not a lot of, what do you call it? There's not a lot of continuity, there's not a lot of growth character-wise, there's not a lot of origin stories in these 3 episodes, but they're overall fun episodes. Yes, there are small things that might, take away from people's enjoyment, but it really didn't bother me that much because, we're 104 episodes into the series. I half expect He-Man to do stupid sciencey bullcrap that doesn't matter.
Yeah. I'm not disappointed or anything. I still probably, even though I'm not ranking the second half of Season 2 as high as you so far, I'm still a little higher Season 2 overall. I don't mind. I could have done without the circus episode, and at this point, I guess what I'm mainly looking for, because obviously it's a broken record, like we say every time, we're looking for more character, development, origin stories, more characters just to appear, etc. But it's also getting to the point where at this point, 100 and some episodes into the series, that obviously bonus points for me just for originality and uniqueness at this point.
Oh, absolutely.
Anything that we haven't seen 2 or 3 times is going to score higher for me. So if there's writers out there that came up with new ideas at this point that we hadn't basically seen in one form or the other, that's what I'm looking for. If I can't get the backstories and the more characters, I just want to see some stuff that I haven't seen before.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you for listening to Tales of Eternia. If you'd like to get in contact with us to leave feedback for the show, there are several ways to do so. Visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on this and all of our other episode posts. Send email to feedback@geekcastradio.com. Leave the show's feedback in iTunes. Please do this. Follow us on Twitter @geekcastradio is the network Twitter. Mine is TFG1Mike. What is your Twitter?
@OptimusSolo.
Become a fan on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/geekcastradio network. Call the voicemail line. Tell us the show you're leaving the message for and your name. 502-526-5821. We hope you enjoyed the tales today, and don't forget to join us in our next adventure when we will continue Season 2 discussing episodes 105, 106, and 107, those being No Job Too Small. Why do I feel like the widgets are going to be in that one? The Bitter Rose and The Gambler.
Sounds like we have an album.
Wait,
the Bitter Rose and The Gambler has to be the first 2 songs on a country album somewhere.
Oh, God. Ladies and gentlemen, Poison's greatest hit as we close out. For now, I am TFG1Mike with OptimusSolo and the powers of Grayskull. You all have the power.
We both lie silently still in the dead of the night. Although we both lie close together, we feel miles apart inside. Was it something I said or something I did? Did my words not come out right? Though I tried not to hurt you, though I tried, but I guess that's why they say every rose has its thorn.
What idiot started this whole thing anyway?
You did!
I did not.
You did too!
I did not!
Well, it looks like the sorceress taught Skeletor a good lesson.
Yes, He-Man. The secrets of Grayskull are safe. And what's even more important, so is Orko.